Beards, Books, and Bourbon is a spoiler-rich environment. If you haven't read or listened to this book, then you should probably go ahead and do that, because we're going to talk about it, and we're going to say all the stuff that you don't want us to say. So go back and read it, or listen to it on audiobook, and then come back and listen to us. Thanks so much, and enjoy the show.
Books and Bourbon, everybody. I am Steven.
I'm Mark.
And we are so glad to be with you once again. And we have a special guest this evening. We're very excited to have in our garage studio, as you can see for the first time on video.
Yes.
The garage is behind her.
Maybe.
And
we'll see if
we
you
are
see
actually in a garage. We talk about this.
We do talk about
But I don't know if anybody believes us. But we are in a garage. As you can
garage.
see, there's one here and there's one over there, right? And we're going to go with that
right,
because that is the style of Beards, Books, and Bourbon.
And as part of our ongoing tradition, meaning that we're just doing this for the first time ever.
That's right.
Our special guest, once she's done, she's going to go and shovel the driveway for us.
That's right. Yeah. As you can see the snow in the background, we finally have service for our bourbon.
Yes.
For our
exactly.
Podcast, right?
Exactly.
But we are welcoming tonight Hillary Halverson, otherwise known as HM Lawson, our author interview for this evening. We are excited to have you. Welcome to Beards, Books, and Bourbon.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So glad to have you here. We've got a treat tonight because we are going to be talking to Hillary about her book, The Mystery in Mapleton. So I'm going to do a little plug here.
There you go.
All right.
Look
so
at that.
This is the one that we have both enjoyed and that so generously Hillary gave to us to read. She is a local author in our area here, up in the suburb of Grayslake, north of Chicago. We talk about Grayslake frequently because we do hit a lot of the bourbon festivals that are here, both the big one in the fall that we talk about and we kind of record from, smaller ones in the winter. But our goal this year, in addition to getting some of the distillers around, was to continue to increase our discussions and interviews with local authors to kind of expand the knowledge of those books that are out there.
What he said.
Right. And our bourbon for this evening, when we get to it, introduce that real quick, and then we're going to have Hillary introduce herself.
Tonight's bourbon is a rye, actually. 3 Floyds Distilling Company, The Demon's Whip, Indiana Rye Whiskey, 53% alcohol by volume, aged 4 years, 106 proof. And never forget, down here in the corner of the label, it says, "It's not normal." And really, it really is not. We'll talk more about that.
Especially when we're
later.
sitting in the garage. It's not normal at all.
It's not normal.
Well, thanks again for being with us. We do have a heater this time around, so I think it's a little bit warmer in here than it normally is. Welcome again, Hillary. Thanks for being with us. Why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about yourself, kind of your role as an author and other things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as the introduction was said, I am from Grayslake. I am a former art teacher, and I turned author. I went from art teacher to author. Both are creative. Both work with putting things together in an interesting way, one with paint or popsicle sticks and the other with words. So it's been a really fun experience being an author, and I'm excited to tell you more about it today.
We are excited as well. I'm going to lift the book up again. HM Lawson is her author name here on the book. The Mystery in Mapleton.
We have
is where
video.
We're at.
I keep forgetting.
We've got video. There, we're going to see how this all works. And
well,
you
it's
never know.
Look like it's probably going to look like it's just my face
well,
there talking because most
I've
of the
got
time I'm
half
not
of
on
my
camera.
head. Half of my head is there. Okay?
I can lean sideways, and then you
yeah,
can just
then
get
we'll
half of me.
you know,
we're all equally half.
This might be endearing, right? This might be endearing to the people who listen to us. Either that, or we're going to just see a dip in our listenership.
That's
you never
right.
know. You never
That's
know.
Right. It's just going to plummet.
When you made the switch to being an author,
yes.
So had that always been kind of an ember that was kind of heating up in your creative world, and it just kind of at one point you kind of, because we've talked about Mark writing we've interviewed many authors. I've mentioned multiple times, and I've got journals full of ideas that I just have laying around either at my office or here, and I've never jumped ship to go into that world. What drew that ember into that flame?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was COVID, actually. I started telling my kids a bedtime story, and it got pretty elaborate. So I thought I should probably start writing this down so I don't get confused on what's happened or what I've told them and what I haven't told them.
And they
what
would
I've
question
planned,
you
and,
if there's something went
like,
wrong,
wait,
right?
I don't remember. And they would catch
Right.
me like, wait a minute, you said he was wearing a red shirt. So I thought I'll just start writing it down. And that took over my life. I was writing till the wee hours of the morning. It was so fun, and it just tapped into something that I had not done in a very, very long time. And I kept writing, kept writing. The story time, the bedtime stories kind of tapered off because I would say, well, just hold on. I just want to write one more chapter, and then I can tell you what the next part of the story is.
Okay.
And so they kind of lost interest for a little while. They're like, she's never going to finish. But I did. I finished. I wrote the end and self-published the story, and then they were able to read the whole thing. So it started out as like, a half an hour bedtime story, and it turned into a, I don't know, 295-page book. And I'm really, really proud of it. To kind of fully answer your question, I started out as an English major because I did not know what I wanted to do in college at all.
Sure.
I really liked art. I was good at writing, but I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with writing, with a writing degree. I mean, I'm not really going to become an author ever. And
here we
so
are.
I thought, I will go into art. I also was really interested in education, art education. They happen to have a degree in that. And I taught middle school art, which I know people think sounds like a horrible, nightmarish scenario, but I really, really loved it. Middle school kids to me are really fun and exciting and inspirational. And I really enjoyed it. Then my kids were born. I took some time off, and as they got older, the bedtime stories started coming together and getting more elaborate, and then the book happened. So,
And this is the book that came from those bedtime stories, then.
Yes.
So it's a 410-page book. So
is it?
It
Well,
is a good
on a Word
size,
document,
that's
8
right.
by
It
8 half
is
by
a
11.
good size book. It is good.
right.
So that sounds that experience reminds me of, and you wrote chapter by chapter. Kind of reminds me
Yes.
of the serial kind of releases of books that were very popular in the Sherlock Holmes comes to mind, right?
Yes.
Or anything that was in the Strand magazine or any of those literary magazines. Edgar Allan Poe stories, I think, were released on a serial basis.
Yep.
Stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
that kind of is that engagement that you had with your kids.
Yeah,
So
and-
they were inspired to follow along with you.
They were. And it was exciting. So when you're telling a bedtime story, if you've ever done that, you have to wrap it up by the end of the 10-minute mark,
Yep.
15-minute mark. You've
Yep.
got to be done, and maybe you have time to tell another section
Right.
serial, and maybe you don't. Maybe it's got to wait till tomorrow night. And what's really interesting is I feel really comfortable with that 10-minute mark. So if you read my chapters, they are about 10 to 12 minutes
Yeah.
out loud.
Yep.
And that's just like the perfect arc. And what I found out afterwards was Steven Spielberg, when he wrote or when he directed any of his movies, every 10 minutes something exciting happens. So go back and watch Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Every 10 minutes.
So that's interesting because
The
then you
pacing
get
is
that
great.
the pacing is what you
Yeah.
got in there,
Right.
which
Yes,
is
and
fantastic.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I really like the pace of my book. It is really long, but it's broken up into small sections, and it just keeps going. And you get to the end of the chapter, and oh my gosh, what happens next? So
Right.
if you have an extra 10 minutes, you can
you
read it.
can you can read another chapter
Yeah.
and be okay.
When I wrote my first book, I wrote it kind of in a whirlwind. It took me about 6 weeks to write it, and the unedited draft was just shy of 1,000 pages, and then I ended up cutting out like 350 pages, something like that, in the editing process.
Yeah.
But it's still this massive book, and like the one thing that people have told me again and again was, this could have been two. This could have been 2 books.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Probably could have.
Yeah, and I think when you're every author has a different process, but when I'm writing, and it sounds like you as well, if the story just flows out, you just type as fast as you can to get
Yep.
it all out there, and it's this wonderful gigantic monster, and it's great to you, but from a reader's point of view, you have to make those cuts so that it doesn't get boggy and things like that. So
Right.
my story actually had a lot of additional material that was going to be this whole backstory from years and years ago, and it was a really elaborate story. So my plan is to this is going to be the first of a trilogy.
Yep.
So I have second book, The Puzzle in Pinehurst is what it is. It's 3/4 done, and I put it on hold for reasons which I'll get into later. Then I'm going to have a third, and then what I would like to do is have kind of like the accompanying backstory, which
to go along with
Yeah.
it. Right.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
Now let's jump into the book a little bit here,
Sure.
right? Let's give us a sense of what you feel was. Do you want to pause for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Renaud?
All right, we are recording again.
Okay, so I was going to ask the story, set the scene for the story, The Mystery in Mapleton. That's the book that we're talking about
Yes.
this evening. So give us the sense of where you started. with the
Yes.
story.
So they say write what you know, but as I explained earlier, I did not set out trying to write a book. I was just telling a story. So I thought, well, I'll just tell a story about kind of based on my childhood / my dad's childhood / my kids' childhood in Wisconsin. So I was born in Michigan. My dad lived in Michigan. And growing up, he always used to tell us these stories called Uncle Jim stories.
Yeah.
And Uncle Jim was his older brother by a year, by like 10 months. And Uncle Jim got into a lot of trouble. And the stories were they weren't particularly profound,
Yeah.
but they were a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know, just falling asleep, hearing my dad explain these adventures that were kind of benign, but there was always some kind of mischief involved.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I took the spirit of that, like it's just kind of a nice story. There's no gore, there's no swearing, there's no language. It was a comforting story that had a little bit of adventure. So
Right.
kind of Hardy Boys Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then I combined that with my childhood. We grew up in Kansas City, so Michigan to Texas to Kansas City and then to Illinois. So
Wow.
that bumped around a couple of times.
That's quite the distance.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of climates in there. And so we lived in Kansas City in the suburbs, actually way out in the suburbs. So we had 3 acres, a lot of property. The Jesse James Trail from Kearney into Liberty, which
Ooh,
if you're
yep.
familiar with that story,
Yeah.
was in our backyard. Like
Wow.
the trail that
Yeah.
he traveled with his gang after
Wow.
they robbed the bank in Liberty, which was
Yeah.
the town close by.
Yeah.
It went right through, and it wasn't like a marked trail, but it was the logical
Like
place.
right.
Yeah, like it had been packed down. So that was really cool. And so we would just go out into the backyard, and it was a pasture. Our property backed up to a actual cow pasture, and when the cows were there but the bull was not, the farmer would let us go into the cow pasture. So my sister and I would travel on the cow paths, which are real narrow.
Yep.
They're huge animals, but their feet are real close together.
Yep.
So there were these, exciting paths. We would go out and find bones and just all sorts of things. We would have adventures, backpack full of Cheerios, and we'd be out for the day.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my childhood. Very, very rustic, very rural, very crunchy granola, just having a outdoor childhood.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what
With
we did.
adventure, with
Yeah.
With the
a
sense of
constant
adventure.
running story.
Like nothing is actually ever going to happen.
Right.
Maybe we'll get chased by a wasp. I mean, that was the highlight.
Right.
But there was always that potential of something really exciting about to happen. So then, fast forward, my kids are born. My parents had moved to Wisconsin, and they had a place on a lake, and my kids just had that version of that excitement, that outdoor adventure at my parents' house. So we would go up as often as we could. And that is the setting of the book, Mapleton. So it's kind of all 3 of those things combined. The lake is absolutely 100% based on Rasha Cree Lake in Wisconsin, in a town
okay.
called Friendship. It's very, very small.
Yep.
And we spent so many hours there. So when I was writing the story, that is where I was picturing Nick and his friends out and about in the woods.
That's funny because my childhood, I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin. My grandparents lived in Wisconsin. My aunt and uncle lived in Wisconsin, and so I would spend my summers basically up in Madison. And my grandfather had this. Every summer he would rent an RV, and we would hit all the state parks in
Awesome.
in Wisconsin. And so I've got all these memories of
Yeah.
running around these trails and going to these different campsites and lakes and rivers and adventures and stuff like that. And that's exactly what it reminded me of as I was reading the story.
Yeah, good. And I'm glad to hear that. And what's interesting is I really wanted kids who are reading this book to be able to live through Nick and through Joe and through Eddie, the three main characters,
Yeah.
and just be able to have that sense of adventure. And I have a lot of fans who are our age
Yep.
who are reliving their own childhoods. So I'm not sure, I there's no technology in the book. There's no screens. They have walkie-talkies.
Yep.
So it's
Yes.
very like Goonies.
So that's what got
flashback.
me,
Yeah.
right? That was my childhood. I mean,
Yeah.
we went back and forth to Wisconsin. I had grandparents who owned property up in Wisconsin. We had an aunt who was in Elkhorn. My grandparents owned a small little cottage in Denelvin near the Lake Lawn
Yeah.
Resort up there.
Yeah,
And then we would frequent the Lake Lawn Resort just every other month with grandparents. But it was the walkie-talkies
Yeah.
that got me. I would run around with my brother with the walkie-talkies and the
'Cause they're
cap
so
guns
cool.
and the cap guns, and we would
Yeah.
go, do whatever we're
Arguing
doing.
over what their handle is.
That's right. I'm Eagle today. You're
Yes.
underwear, or whatever you are, for the day. And
You're
that's-
nothing good. I'm
that's-
amazing. You're
That's
awful.
what it
That's
was.
right.
That's
That's
what
right.
it was. And
Yeah.
those walkie-talkies, like now we have the cell phones, of course, which has
Yeah.
totally changed the landscape.
Yes.
But the walkie-talkies were great. $5.99 usually at Kmart or Zayre or any of those
Yeah.
old stores. And they worked as if they were
AAA,
working on
AA batteries.
nuclear
Yep.
batteries, right?
Yes.
They worked. They
Well,
worked.
I
You got
mean,
distance out of those.
Still, I mean, with
did.
my youngest child, my youngest daughter, she's in the Trailblazers program. And
Yeah.
whenever we go camping, we take walkie-talkies with us.
Yes.
Because the girls love to, they've got the free run of the whole
So
campsite.
fun.
And they just love using the walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
They're like, we just found this thing over here. Come over here. And like you can see them all scrambling from different corners of the camp. Like, okay.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
I
right.
love
So
it.
we've
I
got
love
we've
it.
got Nick, Eddie,
And Joe. Yeah.
are the main characters. So the question that I have jotted down here. So Mapleton itself, the setting itself is richly baked in with personal experience,
Yes.
with history, with layered pieces to it from all different kind of myriad aspects of who you are
Yes.
as a person, as you were as a child, as you were as an adult.
It's a total collage of me.
It's a collage of you
Right, which you
and
know.
places
Yes, yes.
which is always the way it is. So within that, what are some of the themes that you want to develop? So adventure is certainly
adventure,
one of them.
camaraderie,
Friendship,
teamwork.
Yeah.
Yes. The good guy wins.
Yeah,
Just a sense that kids can be leaders in their own world.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real absence of adults. I mean, they're there. They're not
but they're on the
abandoned
periphery,
children.
right? Yeah.
They're not important,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
not solving the mystery. It was really
Right.
important for me to not have an adult swoop in and be like, I know the answer.
Right.
Like that just
Right.
pulls the rug out from
They're,
under them.
they're there
Right.
just to provide the occasional bit of a clue.
Yeah,
Or
a meal, maybe,
Right,
yeah,
right,
and
right.
a roof over their head. But the kids were. I really wanted the kids to be in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes through like that. Nick. Let's talk about Nick a little bit first.
Sure, sure.
And I've got some other questions here, but we can bounce into Nick,
Yeah.
the main character, right?
Yes.
Like he leads it. Tell us a little bit about where you pull him from.
That's
Give us
a great
little
question.
bit. He's a powerful character. He's somebody that resonated with me as an adult reader. Just like you said.
Yeah.
Like I saw myself in my father, whenever we went traveling, my father would be like, why didn't you go out and meet some new kids? You see those kids over there? You should go get to know them.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But I don't want to.
I don't want to, Dad. I don't want to do
Right.
that.
I'm fine over here by myself.
I'm by myself, or I'm with you, or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't want to go meet new kids.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
this is like these first few pages, and I didn't mark down the quote, but there was one in here that I love. I'll see if I can find it. But it was one of the. It was yeah. Well, I mean, here Nick cringed as he was reminded about the lack of Wi-Fi and cell towers in the northern woods. He'd be spending the summer basically off the grid without his laptop, cell phone, or video games. And there we are.
Yeah.
And he's launched into this new world
So-
that all of our kids now
Yes.
don't always experience.
Yes, yes. That was important for me too, to be able to. So I had one reader who read this as an adult, actually, who said, I didn't grow up in nature at all. So this was really fascinating for me to see how kids interact with trees and water and, all of the elements. Yes. So that was important to me to get that across so that kids can experience that secondhand if they have a chance to get out there and really, Scouts is a really great opportunity, but
Yep.
not every child gets that.
Right.
So that was kind of in the back of my mind. Nick is kind of an amalgamation of myself and my children. So there are aspects of both of my kids and me kind of all in together. So growing up, like I said, we moved a couple times, and I am pretty introverted and shy. As a child, I was very, very shy, like painfully shy.
Yeah.
So the
I'm
idea
with
of
you on
like,
that one. Yep.
we'll go meet some kids. It
Yeah.
was like, that's my worst nightmare.
I don't want to meet kids.
I'm
Yeah.
fine by myself. I have everything I need right up here
That's
in my
right.
head.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yes. So total lone wolf and just living with my internal dialogue. And so I wanted the book is very dialogue heavy, and I wanted the personalities of the characters to come through in the way that they speak and communicate. And they each have a kind of a unique characteristic that is their main characteristic. But Nick specifically, because it's written, because he's the main character, there's a lot of his internal dialogue.
Yep.
And those were things that I don't know that I had somebody read this and they were like, man, he does a lot of thinking. And I thought, does not everybody do a lot of thinking? Like, this is very normal for me.
Yes.
But I wanted kids to be able to know if they are an internal thinker, if they're an introvert, lone wolf, that other kids are like that too. Like, Nick is just like you if you're reading that. And I want kids to be able to see themselves in one of the characters. So I picked kind of three main characteristics. I don't have a troublemaker. I mean, I do have a couple of kids that are
Antagonistic in there.
exactly,
Right.
exactly,
Yep.
and they're
Yep.
total stereotypes. They're scut
Yep.
carcasses. You know, that whole thing.
Yep.
Yep.
The whole thing. Yep.
So,
yep.
so I just wanted Nick to be able to have that voice and to show kids that I think thoughtfulness is a characteristic that is not as prevalent as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of encourage, and as a former teacher, it's important for me to be able to teach kids as they're reading to kind of sneak in some things. There's a bully, and there's they handle the bully in a way that is not tattling. They handle it themselves.
Yep.
And I also, because I'm a word nerd, I have put in vocabulary words throughout that
With
are
a glossary
I was
at the back.
I was
There's
just
a
gonna touch
glossary.
on that. That's fantastic.
yes. So,
that was yeah.
so let me explain the
Please.
thought process there. I started writing this book for, well, it was a bedtime story, got out of control. And as I started writing, I had in mind my daughter, who at the time was in probably 5th grade. It was COVID. Yeah, so 5th grade. And she reads at a very high level. So her Lexile is very high. That's a really hard age to find advanced reading material that's not advanced content.
Yeah.
So
Right.
YA, no thanks. She was not, I mean, she could have handled it, but I just didn't want her to be reading about teenage romance as
Right.
a 5th grader.
There's
so,
a lot of that now. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, and I also didn't want, I mean, she would read things and just blaze through. So I thought she needs like a meaty book with high vocabulary that she can really sink her teeth into, because as kids read, they absorb, like the more kids read, the higher their reading comprehension scores go on standardized tests. Like, it's a proven fact. So I thought, I'm going to write at a high level, which is a little risky for an author, because if you write at a Lexile level that is outside of your genre, so my genre is middle grade,
Right.
and that is middle school age, then you are kind of cutting out a big part of your market. And I didn't want to do that, but at the same time, I thought there's a drought of these books.
Yep.
So I thought, fine, I'm just going to do it. And if I lose sales, that's okay, because there aren't a lot of books like this. So
Well, and that's I read the at the beginning of the book where you talk about that. There's a glossary in the back. Some words are going to
Yep.
be highlighted.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the really great $5 words.
Yeah.
And as I was reading it, I was thinking, these books feel a lot like the books that I read when I was that age.
Yep.
And I felt like the $5 words were appropriate for
Yes.
that particular age. But then it occurred to me, well, maybe they don't write middle grade books the way that they used to write them, because
That's a great point. And I have not done a comparison, partly because I don't want to know the answer. But I do think that books are written, well, what did they say? Like, the Daily Herald is written at an 8th grade
Yes.
reading level, which is fine because they want to reach everybody. But I do think, we're kind of sliding backwards. So
Right.
I'm a
We're
warrior
all-
and trying
we
to,
are all for
trying
the
to turn that around.
right.
Well, and I think the bolding of the words inside the book, it was never distracting.
Good.
It was empowering to the reader, because even I'm there were even words that I didn't remember that I'm like, oh, I remember that now.
Yeah.
And you brought me to that, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a middle grade book, but it is perfectly comfortable for an advanced reader like us, adults,
Right.
Yeah.
to consume.
Yeah,
You know,
right. And I think that's. I mean, that's not
that's-
what I intended. I didn't mean for like.
but it's
adults.
a byproduct of what you've done,
It
right?
is.
And I think that for us to be able to engage with it, and I'm sure other adults, like you've said, like you've shared, the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you wonder, you tend to wonder, where do you lose the reader sometimes, right? Where do you
Right.
lose your audience?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was just listening to an audiobook, and I told you about this today. I mean, I like it a lot. I was gonna try to push us to do it on the show, but this was an audio version of the book that I was listening to, and
Yeah.
halfway through, I'm like, it's losing me now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I reflect upon it. I'm not sure what it was where I lost it.
Yeah, it could be
But
that you were
it could be
distracted
that
by
I was
something in
distracted
your
by
life.
something else.
Yeah.
Could have
Yeah.
been something that was just not fulfilling.
It could be that the book dragged there.
Right, and that was
Yeah.
it. And that was it.
He just knew that I was never going to actually
Right,
do it.
right. My
Mark's
co-host.
never going to
my
say yes.
co-host
What's
is,
the point?
is challenging. We need to see a psychologist as a podcast group here to figure out why
Every-
you're so challenging.
And
we're gonna go with that.
Are we gonna fill out some scales?
We're gonna
Are we
fill out
gonna
some
fill out scales
scales.
now?
We're gonna fill out
Okay.
some scales.
Good.
And I should remind our listeners too, and we didn't do this at the beginning, but you do this with a little blurb at the beginning.
Yep.
Typically, in some of the podcasts we do, some of the episodes, we are a spoiler-rich environment. We're not. We're holding back on that today. When we interview authors, when we interview local authors, or if we interview anybody else,
We want you to go
we
buy the
want you to
book.
go buy the book.
Buy the book.
Right? We want you to go buy the book. So we're relying on Hillary to tell us what you're most comfortable telling us.
Yes, I'm telling you what
But
you
we're
need to
not
know.
Right.
But it is a mystery.
Yeah, but it is a mystery, and you need to read this. You need to add this to your collection. It is a great read. So
Well, and this is one of the other things I thought about as I was reading the book was me now firmly in my second half century of life. I
Assuming
found
you go
the
to
book.
100.
I found the book very comforting. It was
good.
it was very cozy for me.
I
It
think
was
I think that's a really good way to share that.
it was a
with Hillary. Yeah, I
very
do. I
comfortable
do.
read, very
I do.
cozy. It was a fun story, but it also offered
Yeah.
a certain amount of nostalgia for me.
Yep.
But I didn't feel like I didn't feel like the story was dated in any way. Like I'm sure if I went back to some of those middle grade books that I read when I was
Have you read a Hardy Boys lately? Because I have, and they are
Woo!
outdated.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine they are.
Yeah, the women. Let me just say, the women are useless.
I would
Yes.
imagine they
Yes.
are
So
outdated.
sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so sad, but I'm glad you said comforting and nostalgic, because that also was something that I was writing a book that I would have liked to have read as a child.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was a distinct decision on my part, because I had the thought, I think there's not all of the big ticket things that authors and movie producers are encouraged to do to make the book exciting, to make it sell in large
Yep.
quantities.
Yeah.
I don't have those things because we're so stressed out as a society, and a lot of the books my kids were reading for school or for pleasure, they were stressful. And
Yes.
I have no problem
Right.
with an exciting book. Like,
Yes.
bring it on. But just putting in drama for the sake of drama, some kind of catastrophe, or this person's mom is dying of cancer, or like whatever, like I really wanted to just steer clear of that and write a nice story that
Right.
doesn't have unnecessary stress that the reader is going to absorb. So it's a relaxing read, but it's also exciting because there's cliffhangers. At the
Well,
end
there's
of-
still cliffhangers. There's still the climax.
Yeah.
There's still the denouement. There's still everything that
There's
you
still
get.
a twist.
The twist.
There's
You get
the
everything
twist.
in there.
I
Yes.
like
The
So
twist.
that's
Thank you.
I like the twist.
I
Yeah,
like
I
it.
do.
There's
I
a
agree.
twist,
I agree.
listeners.
And
There's a twist.
you need to buy the book to get the twist.
The twist was great.
So in my notes here, I have everything listed by themes for questions for you. So
love that.
let's pivot, because
Okay.
this is kind of you as a craft.
Yes.
Right. So we've got a mystery. We have a twist. We have characters. We know where the arc is going to go in terms of they're going to encounter a puzzle. They're going to look for a solution.
Yes.
They're going to encounter those bounces along the way to get to that solution. Right. We know that. Right.
Before you jump into that question
Yeah.
real quick, one last thing that I thought of was
And we
that
probably should do the bourbon too.
we gotta do that
Yeah.
soon. I really enjoyed the introduction and the involvement the level of involvement of the adults. And I know you mentioned already that that you didn't want them to solve anything.
Yep.
You didn't want them to sweep in and take over, right?
Yeah.
It's not like Cub Scouts. We let the kids try and then the adults finish it
Yeah.
for them.
We'll make the fire so it's not a bomb.
Right, exactly. No, but I loved how despite the fact that these were very much background characters, supporting characters, to me in many ways they still felt fleshed out to that appropriate level for that middle grade book.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Not just a stick figure.
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah.
You know, here's the uncle, right?
Right.
And here's
Well, I mean, Uncle John is everybody's Uncle John.
Right.
Like
I literally have an Uncle John.
Like,
it's not.
I
he's
don't
not
have an
like
Uncle
this
John,
Uncle John,
but I have an Uncle Jeff.
Yeah.
Who is a tinkerer? Who is a
Yeah.
who
Yes.
I've been? He lives in West Chicago. When you go to his house, he has things.
Yes.
There's books. There's papers. There's essays.
That's
he
my
was
Uncle Randy.
he was a particle
I love
physicist,
this.
right? He worked at the Fermilab, right?
Yeah.
And he's got all these. He's got like the clay or the what do you call it, the plastic models of molecular structure. I mean, these are the things. And Uncle John brings to us I'm like, hey, I have an uncle like that,
Right.
You know, and maybe I'm going to turn into an uncle like that at some point in my life, you know.
And Ginger and Mr. Watkins
and Watkins.
Yes. So I wanted the adults to be, they're present and they are actual believable characters who have their own, kind of side stories, but they're not in competition with the kids.
That's right.
It's
that's
not the parent
right.
that's like, oh, these kids are annoying,
That's
or
right.
we don't want to make mom upset. I wanted them to be a community, and the kids are part of that community, but they're also running the show. And like I said, I wanted them to be the ones solving the mystery. But
right.
Thanks for bringing that up.
So I'm going to pivot into another question about that. So I'm going to ask the question, then we can taste the bourbon, I think.
You pivot so much, you're like a dancer.
And well,
You just pirouette for
So
me. Steven.
agile.
my hip,
I know,
my
right?
hip is going to break. My hip is going to go. My hip is going to go.
Your hip, please.
My hip is going to go.
You lost your hip 4 years ago.
With that, be quiet.
He's
Wait,
a
you're going
robot.
to do a bourbon tasting?
we're gonna-
I've been drinking this whole time.
We are. We've been drinking too. But now we're going to talk about. Now we're going to talk about it.
Right.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that.
I see. Okay, sorry.
To
Continue.
pivot to the question, with that in mind, right? With that kind of the intentionality of the adult roles versus the kid roles,
Right.
versus the mystery versus the arc versus everything in there. The question that I jotted down for us is what as an author of that kind of book, where do you start? What is your planning process? Do you start with the solution? Do you start with the question?
Great
Do you
question.
start with the this and that? So keep that in mind.
Okay.
That's the question. Okay.
And we'll come back to
Let's.
that.
We're gonna. So Hillary is going to try some bourbon with us this evening.
Yeah.
Yes.
But is a fan of the beer spirits.
Yes.
So we do have a wonderful Guinness for her that she is nursing this
Yes,
evening.
and I got the tiny sampler.
You got a
glass.
tiny sampler,
Tiny
so
sampler.
we're going to try that here. But we are, so go ahead and reintroduce the full bourbon here,
All
all right?
Here we go. Tonight's bourbon is a rye. Three Floyds Distilling Company, the Demon's Whip, Indiana Rye Whiskey. It's not normal. 53% alcohol by volume, aged 4 years, 106 proof. In Munster, Indiana, and then on the back label, this is batch number 1. First batch.
First batch.
Wow.
So
I hope
that's
they know what they're doing.
So
That's pretty awesome.
with a rye, it has to be
so
rye.
mash bill, 51% malted rye, 49% malted barley. Tame the demon, embrace the whip.
Yep.
This rye whiskey featured seductive aromas of honey, vanilla, and almond, with medium spice notes and a slightly sweet finish.
Top me off there.
I'll top you off there.
S'il vous plaît.
Those are all the best ingredients.
So we'll do a little toast here. So,
Achtung, baby.
all right.
It smells great.
All right. So it does have so you get the nose on there.
Yeah.
You get the vanilla. You get the.
And so, in Three Floyds, Three Floyds is actually, they started off as a brewing company.
Oh,
they
I'm
have
familiar.
They have a full line of beers.
Right. Full line of beers.
We were actually trying to find a porter or a stout for you to try.
Oh.
But they're not really in
It's hard to
season at the
find.
moment.
Yeah.
It's hard to find.
Right.
So this is, distilling is new for them.
Wow.
But I'm assuming that they're taking what they've learned through brewing and they're just,
doing it so
and they're just moving forward, because every whiskey starts off as
do
beer.
we have another one? We had another one from them too, didn't
I
we?
did
I
not
think
know
so
that.
in our collection. I thought
Oh,
so.
we did. We
Good
did.
place.
Yeah.
Well, let's raise the glass to Nick, shall we?
Yes.
to
To
Nick.
Nick. To Nick Thornton.
All right.
Now, if you can get past the gasoline,
So now you know what we do in
I feel
the
like
garage.
I'm breathing fire.
You
Right?
actually know how we keep warm.
right?
So my wife,
Is it hot in here?
my wife will not touch this stuff at all. Now when
It is strong.
when we go full
but
disclosure,
she likes tequila, doesn't she?
yes, but that's in her culture. Right, her uncle. We visit her uncle in Mexico. He has a full tequila bar.
Really?
And I being the only non-Hispanic member of the family currently, right? When we go see him, it's like a festival for him. He's like, "Come on, let's go.
We're doing
I want to
it."
see what we can get you going on here."
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh.
But when we go to the Bourbon Fest, we tend to try. And mind you, they only give you they give you because
Yeah.
How many did we try this year? 27.
27.
This year we tried 27.
Last year we did 32.
32.
How'd that go?
That was too much.
That was too much. Mind you, 27.
27.
Apples and oranges is what
Sounds
we're talking about, right?
the right number to me.
32
But they're
was
small, I mean,
officially too
although
much.
27
Okay.
of them is a little,
20
then you get. We walk home, obviously.
Okay.
You can recover from 27.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
So, what are you getting from the bourbon? So we're, this one I enjoy.
Well, my husband is a very avid home brewer, not just like a little bucket from, Bed Bath and Beyond. Like has a full home brew room on the back of our porch
for beer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hear all the terms of all the
Hey, we need to have him on the show too.
things that are
Yeah.
in here.
You know,
Oh yeah,
as a brewer.
he would be
Yeah.
able
Get him on the
to.
show.
He likes bourbon.
Yeah.
So I'm getting notes of vanilla, honey,
So I've got a
almond.
strong honey.
What was the other one on
Here,
there?
you just want to read the back of the bottle?
That's right. I'm getting those.
It's a smooth pour for me though. There's not a lot of burn
You're
on the
getting
back end.
you're getting vanilla, honey, almond with medium spice. And
I
a
was
sweet
going to say
finish?
medium spice. Yes. Yeah. It is quite good.
So what's interesting about the rye is that you get that spice. It's almost like a winter cocktail, right? Like something you would think of as a spiced wine,
Yeah.
or a or like a glug type of thing.
Yep.
That you get, and those are lovely. We did a post in the winter where we lined up a couple of our bourbons that we'd like to classify as the winter bourbons, right?
Yeah.
Not that we wouldn't drink them in the summer, right? But they are really that wintry flavor, that really
Yeah.
good spicy flavor,
Okay.
and that's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I
know?
mean, ryes always have a little bit of sweetness in them, but in comparison to a bourbon is much sweeter, and it's vanilla, caramel, and smoke are the three main components
In
that
a
you're-
bourbon?
In a bourbon.
In bourbon.
Oh,
that you're,
then
that
what
you're
is
gonna
this?
taste.
And then you're good.
This is not bourbon?
This is not a bourbon.
This is a rye.
This is a rye.
Oh, I thought it was a rye bourbon.
Right, right.
I thought you were just
so it is.
abbreviating it to
It,
be cool.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. But
So-
it has
so the-
to have 51% of
Oh,
the rye
I see.
in it.
Right.
Okay.
So the mash bill itself it's got to be mostly rye.
Right.
Got
And
it.
then where it's a bourbon, it's mostly corn.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
I love learning
you're
new
gonna
things.
you're gonna pull out that sweetness from the. We need to write a book now.
Well-
we need to write a book, maybe a mystery in the bourbon barrels or something.
Yes, yes.
Not in the barrels, but in the in the.
Nick goes to jail.
Could end up in the barrels, but maybe that's where it'll go.
Jill lost
don't
her
know.
mind and was hiding the bodies in the barrels.
Shoot, I thought these barrels had lye. They've got rye. in them.
Rye in them. That's oh
Bodies
god.
are still
This is definitely not a YA book.
How did I miss that?
No,
I'm
that's-
so smart.
That's a different genre.
That's right. We'll put the word in bold: rye and corn.
Oh
Here's
my
you-
gosh,
here
I
you
love
go.
it.
Yeah, right. Mash bill.
You have to put all the bolded words together. The
that's
secret
right.
code at the
Oh,
end.
that's right. That's right. See, I know, right?
Yes.
Oh God.
Then we can sell secret decoder rings, right? You know?
Ooh.
Yes.
Don't forget to
in
drink your
the-
Ovaltine.
Yeah.
In the
Bar
not,
soap
what,
with
what
the
boxes
prints
did
in
you
it.
find
Yes.
the secret decoders? And what were they on the cereal boxes or the what was
Cracker
the
Jack,
Cracker
I think.
Jacks?
Cracker Jack
Cracker
boxes.
Jacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cracker Jacks. Oh my God. Jeez.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a lot of potential.
Yeah.
A lot of potential.
Now we've got the Guinness, of course, which is an excellent beer. By the way,
Absolutely.
it's a lovely, lovely beer.
Yeah.
And it probably pairs pretty well actually with the bourbon. Actually,
really does.
There's that heaviness with that might complement the
It makes
the
this
bourbon a little
taste
bit.
like water.
A little bit. A little bit of heaviness in that bourbon. Well, thank you for trying the bourbon.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I
And
loved
we
it.
will when we do the episode, we'll try another one and see what you think of another
okay.
one too as well. So back to the question.
Yes, the process.
Of your process as a writer, and we fleshed a little bit out of some of our characters here, right? And where do you start? What is your method, or what would you reveal as your method, right?
I like writing for the thrill of what comes next. I really, really like that. I'm a very analytical person, but when it comes to writing or creating any kind of art, I do a lot of art on the side. I don't like to have a complete plan because it's really hard to take something artistic and keep it on track the whole time.
Yep.
Because the piece will take on a life of its own, and if you try to keep those guardrails on, your piece is going to be really boring, in my opinion. And some authors, that's how they operate, and they can make it really exciting. But I tried doing that. I started. Nick was having this adventure. I knew, the basic of what was going to happen next and next and next. But after that, I had no idea. Did not know how the mystery was going to end. It was a real catastrophe to write 3/4 of a mystery and not know what happened at the end. It was like, oh shoot, this is not going to be a good book. There's not an ending if they don't solve the mystery.
Right.
I could just say and they didn't figure it out. They didn't figure it out this time.
I do it slightly differently, where I start with a premise. I generally know where I want it to go, and then everything in between is journey. And I don't know where that's going to go or what forks it's going to take. I know that eventually it needs to get back, in Horseshoe Land, somewhere within this area, right? But
there's wiggle room.
But there's lots of wiggle room, and I never quite know exactly where it's going to go.
Which makes it really fun and exciting. So it's not a chore to crank out a book. And that's not to say, so in author speak, there are plotters. Those are the people who write this specific outline. They've got the characters all figured out, and then they just put it together, which is fine. And there are plenty of great authors that write that way. That's their process, and they can find creativity and joy in that. For me, I like the sense of adventure. Writing is really exciting, and if I know what's going to happen, then it's really not very fun.
Yeah.
So the opposite of a plotter is called a pantser, because you're flying by the seat of your pants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's a hybrid, which is a planter. So I'm probably in that a little bit, where I have
zone?
a little bit. I need some structure. I want the rising action and then the conclusion.
You've got a framework that you're working in.
I'm a de-pantser. I just like to write in my underwear. So yeah.
That's a
It took
genre.
41 minutes to
It's
get
a
here
genre.
to that comment. It took
I've
41
been
minutes
good. It's been
You've
taking
very
like 30
good.
seconds
I'm very
lately.
impressed.
Right?
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, 41 minutes and a little bourbon to get to the underwear comment.
It was that
which is
bourbon
fine.
break that just
which
loosened
is-
everybody right up.
Right.
Yeah, I when I write, I like to really have a good idea of who the characters are in my mind, at the very least.
Right.
And maybe I'll reveal more of their backstory as time goes on. But before I start putting, proverbial pen to page, because I type everything, I have terrible handwriting.
It's too slow. Handwriting is too slow.
It's too slow.
Some people do their whole books on yellow pads or whatever, and go with that, right?
Yeah. But
go
so
with that.
I know exactly. I really know. I have a really good idea of who the characters are, and I have a general idea of where I want the plot to end. And I don't know which characters are going to get all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And I have no idea of how much they're going to change. I just know that you create characters that you fall in love with, and then you torture them for as long as you possibly
Don't
can.
ever give them what they want.
Never give them what they want.
Right.
And maybe at the end you throw them a bone, right? Or
Depends on if you want a book too or not.
right, exactly. Or it's like a Rolling Stone song. You give them what they need, but not what they want.
Yes.
Right. But you just never quite know. The only hint that happens is that if I'm 3 chapters along and I kind of go, what happened to this character? You go, oh, this character has to die.
Yep. They didn't make it.
They didn't make it.
They're not making
They didn't
it.
make
Yeah,
it.
the story killed them.
Yep.
Yeah, none of my characters die, but that's really not my genre. Have you
Right.
killed off characters?
Huh?
Have you killed off characters?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I tried to give them a fairly glorious death. But yeah.
Something with a little oomph in it.
Something with a little oomph in it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? What has the what has the book taught you about yourself?
That's
As a
great question.
writer, as a person, maybe that you didn't know before.
Yeah. I really like new and exciting things. So finishing the book was challenging. At the beginning, it's great. There's the honeymoon phase of this is like the sky's the limit. Anything could happen in this book. But having the discipline to finish it was more challenging than I thought. A lot more challenging. 'Cause as I said, I didn't know what was going to happen.
And you got to a certain point where you're like,
This is no longer
oh
fun.
boy, right?
Like, I gotta wrap it up here.
Right.
Right.
And that was hard. I had to really make myself do that because this is a fun hobby. It
Right.
wasn't like I had a deadline and
Right.
an editor or an agent.
Waiting for it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just me, and I had to be my own boss and say, it's time. You need to
But
get in.
that's super hard, though, isn't it? You've got to find a way to bring it in for a landing.
Yeah.
And let the story come to an end, whether that's just going to be the end of a larger chapter in the story,
Yeah.
or if it's going to be the end. But you've got to land the plane.
Yeah,
And-
if you want it to be done.
Right.
If you want it to just go on forever, I joined a couple writers groups during this process to just get some basic feedback.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was writing this really great story, but it clearly was never going to end. And that's not what he wanted. He was not writing to write a book. He was writing to have a project for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And so he was meeting his goal, but the rest of us were like, we're going to wrap it up here,
Right,
and
right.
land the plane, as you said. But he just was.
It
Nope.
was that wasn't what his MO was.
Well,
Correct.
it-
it wasn't
and
his
for
goal.
that- for that
He's
his
like,
goal, right.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't want to write a book.
Stephen and I have been, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're in our 6th year doing this, and if you go back and you listen to our episodes, one of the things that I will constantly come back to is not every author is good at endings.
No.
I
In
wonder
fact-
how many. Like,
In
there's.
fact, lots of authors are fairly terrible at endings.
Yeah.
Where it's an amazing story, but you can just tell that their agent or their editor said, "Okay,
Enough.
you need to be done now."
And the book. And the book.
and the book,
And the book.
Yeah.
and really, it's like they do the climax. They have like a 3-page denouement, and it's like the end, right? And the denouement is
Denouement.
oh, shut up!
It's in your nose.
It's in
Not denouement.
You're from Chicago.
Harsh.
How dare you?
Harsh.
How dare you, sir?
Oh.
Ah, everything's in Steven's nose, including his ego.
All right, fine. Nick,
In fact, I often say that one of the people who's notoriously bad at endings, who most of the time can't do it, is the great and illustrious Stephen King.
yeah.
I was wondering if
Yeah,
you're going to say
yeah,
that.
and we've done a number of Stephen King books
Yes.
on, just because we love them in
Yeah.
general. Our first episode was The Shining.
Love it.
Our second episode was Doctor Sleep,
Okay.
right? And I had not, and I fully confess that this was one of our major conversations. At the time that we started the podcast, I had never read The Shining.
I actually have never read The Shining.
It
either.
is, it has risen to probably one of my top 5 favorite books, followed by Doctor Sleep, just kind of as a duo right there, right?
Yeah.
I had always been a fan of Stephen King. I had read other things. I had read it. I had read everything else.
Yeah.
Bag of Bones, all those other books. And of course, I was a fan of the Shining, the movie. I love the Jack Nicholson classic.
Right.
I love the reboot that had happened a few years back or whatever. All that kind of junk. When we started this, we're like, okay, I'm going to read this, and I was blown away. I'm like, wow, I have not. I'm
All right, I need to read it
50
now.
years old.
Yeah.
And I read this book.
It's time.
right?
You gotta read
So
it.
we
gotta
did
read
that.
it.
That was our first episode.
It's
And
I
it's
don't want to say
great.
that it's nothing like the movie,
No,
I've
but
heard
it's really
quite
nothing
different.
like the movie.
but there's
Yeah.
something else to it that just drew me in that I did not realize was there.
Right. Right.
And I discovered it as kind of an adventure, right? So it just
Yeah.
remains one of those classic books. In fact, this old book, which is a
Oh, I love this
marvelous,
old book.
marvelous store in downtown Grays Lake. Everybody,
On
you need
Center
to
Street.
visit it on Center
It's
Street.
Yeah, such
Brilliant.
a gem.
She had a 19. The book came out in the 1970s, so it was a 19. I don't know when it was. Forgive
Early
me.
edition?
1976 book club version
Whoa.
of
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah.
Wow.
In her,
Pretty
which
cool.
I bought, and I've got it now in my collection.
Ooh.
So it had
Wow.
a much different. It had a light green, minty cover to it,
Okay.
with kind of that old 1970s illustration, that
Yes.
faded
Yes.
yellow, faded orange, faded kind of,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And
Flowers in the
so-
attic
the
kind
of-
flowers in the
Yes.
attic kind of feel to it.
Love it.
And just so, if you are coming to Grays Lake to visit, you need to pop over to this old book, because they have quite the collection of books, just books anyway.
Yeah.
But then there's a fabulous rare book special edition collection at that store where you can pick up some really neat copies.
Yeah.
In fact, it's gone now, and I'm still trying to get my dad. My dad has a copy of the original cover It book by Stephen King.
Oh,
The
wow.
black cover with the green claw and the red balloon that you cannot find anymore because that's now white. It's white now with the
Yep.
red It that's been popularized by the
Yeah.
by the series.
Yep.
Right.
And she had one,
And you didn't.
and it went,
Oh.
and I got to try and find
Regret.
it. So I got to try and find it. I'll
Yep.
keep my search going.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, Eddie, Joe.
Yes.
Tell us about who resonates the most. I'm sure they all resonate pretty well with you anyway, because you are the creator of
Yes,
those lives.
Peter,
Right.
Bobby, Cindy. I'm sorry. I just
That's right. You had to do it.
I did.
You had to do it. You had to do
It
You
was
had to do
Jan.
You had to take a sip of your bourbon.
it's a rye.
Sorry,
It's a
you're
rye. Mr. Denouement.
right. You know, out the garage you go. Who? So, first of all, the ice cream shop.
Yes.
Like, I wanted a cup of chocolate just because Uncle John said, if you're going to get ice cream, you're going to get it here.
Yep.
I
yep.
have to ask you a question.
Yes, sure.
Exhausted parent.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that ice cream anywhere?
No, I haven't.
Because
So-
they have it.
They
Do
do.
they really?
They do.
Oh, no,
There's
I
an
feel like I
exhausted
copied.
parent.
There-
I
there
have
is
never
a-
seen it before.
No.
There's an ice cream shop in Kenosha. It's called Scoops.
Okay.
And
It's
one of their
lovely.
ice creams is called Exhausted Parent.
Oh,
And
dang
it's a bourbon infused coffee flavored ice cream.
Oh.
They might have been
with
inspired
chocolate
by
chunks.
you. They might have been
With
inspired by you.
Maybe. I mean, I really try not to copycat off of things, and I will say I had an entire part of the ice cream shop scene. There was Eddie was doing some things, and I was like, "This is brilliant. This is great."
Yep.
And I write very cinematically, which I interpret as when I am writing, I see it happening in my head
Yep,
as if
yep.
it plays out as a
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
I try to be very descriptive with my language so that when I have a reader reading, they are literally, hopefully, reading what I see in my head.
Yep.
I want it to be very, not that it's not open for interpretation, but it's a pretty literal book.
Yep.
It
So
very
that-
much reminded me of there's in Hayward, Wisconsin. There's which the name of which I can't remember now, but it's a very well known place. Like if you go
Oh,
to
yeah.
Hayward, everybody goes to this ice cream place.
I've been to Hayward.
It's
My sister's going
it's
on
this
Saturday.
family ice cream
Like, what do you
shop.
have?
My Uncle Russ lived. No, not Hayward, Wisconsin. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of something else.
But everybody goes there, and
go there.
and you know they've got all the regular flavors, and then they've got their own version of the more exotic kinds of flavors, but they have their own names for everything.
Oh, I
Right.
love that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that they make it there. I think they make their own ice
Okay.
cream as well. But
Oh, that's
and-
really cool.
And so they have really cool names. They're really fun, and like the layout of the shop really reminded me of the story, or the story reminded me of the layout of the shop of the place in Hayward. So that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So, character. Who speaks to you the most?
Nick, for sure. He just.
I was going to go with Billy.
I was the bully character. I mean, I'm pretty nice. I'm surprised you went there.
Drink your rye.
Jack, maybe Jack.
Maybe.
Jack? Maybe that. Yeah.
The sycophantic sidekick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Why not? Why
He
not?
reminds me of you, honestly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to say, if you've ever,
This is the last episode of Beards, Books, and Bourbon.
Good night, everybody.
it's been
Good night, everybody.
fun. Writing a book is really exciting because you get to invent anything you want. I mean, it is for an introvert, it is just total freedom.
Yeah.
You can any
Yeah.
character, sure, throw them in. If it doesn't work, you can cut them or kill them.
Right.
Mark.
Right.
It's been a really fun transition for
They're
me.
dynamic
I never thought I
characters.
was going to be an author.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I got there.
We get to know them, and they're relatable, right? We've talked about that a lot in some
Yeah.
of the books that we've had on the show. Like, some of the things that resonate the most with us are when we feel like we can be. And I know that generally is a goal of authors, like they
Right.
want you to feel the book.
Yeah.
But it becomes a little bit deeper when you have, and we're going to ask this question at the end because we've done it the past couple times
Okay.
with our distillers, and you know where I'm going with that, right? Like what you're going to feel in the book, right?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yep.
And that's something that we've added to the podcast a little bit, and we've gotten some really neat answers. So if I remember it correctly, we'll get to it.
No
But these
pressure,
characters, but like Uncle John, right?
Right.
Or even like the parents, even like Nick's parents. Sending them off because they're renovating their house,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They're like, off you go,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And it's kind of that. It's like you know what that feels like, and so you can be in that journey.
Yeah.
Like when he's being driven to Uncle John's.
Yeah.
And then when Uncle John picks him up and they're driving back to Uncle John's house.
Yeah, it's like that
you
awkward,
you get the smell of the dandelions coming
Yeah.
in from the outside of the window, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do this summer? It's almost like you can smell the chlorine from the pool or the lake or the fish from the lake or whatever, and you get that sense of where you're at.
Yeah, I really wanted readers to just be able to see themselves in the characters and get immersed with all of their senses. That's something that I learned from my writers group. So I had, like I said, I hadn't written in a long time, and I felt pretty rusty getting in there. Like I knew I had the idea, but the way I was writing, one of the first meetings I went to, it was virtual because everything was shut down still. So it was through one of the libraries, and I was meeting all these new people. I was so nervous. Like, I think I've got something really good here, but to read it out loud to a group of people you don't know and have them sit there,
it's vulnerable.
All their faces, and they're just staring at you like,
right.
We need to tell you something.
Yeah,
right.
And I was like, what is it? And they said, well, there's something called head hopping that you can't do. And I was like, what is head hopping? Right. I was like, what are you talking about? And they said, you have to pick a character and the story is told through their eyes only. You cannot have Nick having an internal dialogue and in the next paragraph, Eddie is having an internal dialogue and then Joe is it's jarring for the reader. And I thought, well, I did not know that. So thank you for telling me.
Although
so
you
I made
can
some
do that
adjustments.
every few chapters.
You can.
You can.
Or you can put an asterisk in between.
Right.
Like you can do it, but you have to do it the right way so the reader doesn't be you're not like
Like,
whoa, who
what?
is talking?
You have to create some clear delineation. Otherwise, the reader will just get lost.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the reader gets lost or bored, they're done.
They're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're done.
So
Well, in all fairness, this is the perfect time to reveal that our first episode was the same way, right? Our first episode, if you go back and listen to our first few episodes.
I will do that now, yes.
Okay, not necessarily the books necessarily, but the bourbon, right? We would bring out the bourbon and we would taste the bourbon and then we would exclaim,
Wow, this bourbon tastes so bourbony.
and that's where we went for like the first 10 episodes. We're like, that's really bourbon.
I mean, we tried really.
It's
we
a Steve Urkel
tried.
type of thing.
We tried. Really,
It's a
I
catchphrase.
get caramel, vanilla, and smoke. Gee, guys,
You know what I get? I get bourbon.
No kidding.
Yeah, I get bourbon. That's what I get from this
It
one.
doesn't
Oh.
taste
And,
like
you know, and-
whiskey.
but-
It
but-
tastes like bourbon.
But to your point, then too, like now we have a larger collection. We've always been a fan of books.
Look
We're
how
both
refined you are with your studio here.
right. You know, and now we actually feel like we can talk about bourbon.
Right.
Books have always been part of both of our lives.
Right now,
We're
it feels
both-
like our Alaska studio. I wish we had a
Right.
moose.
Actually, it's really warm in here with this. It's actually I
I
actually
wouldn't say it's
feel-
really warm, but it's warmish.
It's
warmer.
Warmer.
Than it
Yes.
was a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Where
Yeah.
where
Where you
we
had
would
no
not
heater.
have had you in here.
What
we
is
would have
it?
sat inside.
18 degrees right now.
Right.
It's
And not
26, 25,
20.
something like that.
Well,
not too. It's not uncomfortable in here this time.
It's
around.
not uncomfortable.
It's not uncomfortable in this right?
No.
So I guess do you have any writing
Ooh,
rituals?
29. It's 29 degrees.
Oh my gosh, it's so warm.
Yeah. Okay.
Writing rituals. I do actually. I was going to say no, I don't, but I do. So I got this from a professional writer who I can't think
Reveal.
of it's not Ernest Hemingway. I do a lot of like, what do the greats have to say? And I have a
Right.
whole list of them, and I just can't remember who said this one. It may have been Hemingway. When you sit down to write, just read the last page of what you wrote yesterday before you start writing.
Yeah.
Get yourself back in, which makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
But if you just wrote it yesterday, you might be tempted to say like, okay, I know exactly what I want to happen in the next chapter. I'm going to go, but you have to have the discipline to go back and reread and get in the
Back in
right
the
mode,
zone.
or to say like, whoa, this was way off. I need to cut that and start fresh.
Yeah.
So that's probably
That's a
my
good-
one ritual.
when I lived in Paris, I lived right around the corner from his apartment.
Did you really?
In Paris, Hemingway's apartment.
Really?
Did you ever hang out?
Yeah, no.
He's not answering. What's the answer?
I'm not that old.
My sister lives in Oak Park, and his childhood home is right around the block.
Yes, right around the block.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I did my study abroad in Paris, the apartment, the family that I lived with had an apartment condo right in Paris. Most of the living arrangements in Paris are apartments, right?
Yes.
And right around the corner, in a separate building, was where he was at during the time that he wrote all of those books in Paris.
Oh my gosh, I have
And,
heard
you know,
that he liked having a fireplace and a window.
Yeah.
So he could see
You
both.
could see the apartment.
Yeah.
You go see the apartment. There's a plaque on the main wall. He
that's
would,
cool.
and this is the thing too. Like he would come down, right, and I would frequent the cafes that
That he
he frequented.
Oh my
you know,
gosh,
and it's
yes.
like, and you just think
There's
about
so
that.
much history there.
You know,
Yep.
and you know, A Movable Feast tends to be one of my top books in my life, just forever, right?
love that.
Just something there about that.
Yep.
So that's a cool connection that you have with him.
Yeah.
And with his writing and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
If it was Hemingway, I mean, there
Yeah.
may have
Yeah.
been a different
Yeah.
one.
But we're
I
gonna go
had-
with Hemingway.
I had
We're gonna
rules
say
as well.
Hemingway. Yeah. What are yours?
So my rules were always finish a chapter. And chapters had to be at least 10 pages, but never more than 20.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And then when I got done writing a chapter, I had a journal, which I did not journal in. I used it where I would flip it open and say, okay, for chapter 13, and here are the following bullet points of things that I know that I have to cover in chapter 13. Because those are the loose ends that I left in chapter 12.
Did you do that every time or just when needed?
I did that every time.
Oh, okay. I just did that when needed, and it got a little messy. So I think more discipline would be really good.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
I did that. I did that every time. And then when I started writing the sequel to that book, I didn't do that, and I realized about 150 pages in that I probably should have introduced one of the characters back in chapter 3.
Yeah, those loose ends will come back and haunt you. And
That's
then where
the
do
thing.
you
Those
weave
loose
it
ends
in?
are all over the place,
Yes.
right?
Are. It's like a messy tapestry if you don't keep it tidy.
Yeah.
Do you edit as you go?
I sometimes edit as I go. Sometimes if I've got an idea, then I'll just write. Like the first book, that's how I got up to almost 1,000 pages.
Yeah, that's
because
a
I just
lot.
kept on going, and then I went, okay, you're not Stephen King. You have to make this much smaller.
Yes. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want people to read it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So if you like Stephen King at all, we just did an episode. His son, who is Joe Hill, right, did a book just recently
Yes.
called King's Sorrow.
Oh,
It's incredible.
is it?
It's fantasy based. Well, sort of. It has a dragon.
It's fantasy horror.
It's
Fantasy.
fantasy horror.
Nonfiction.
It's brilliant.
I've had people say dragons
It's
are real.
Really good. I hope they're real. One of these days, I'd like to be a dragon.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. But he's obviously that family is a writing family.
Yeah.
Stephen,
I'm
I'm Falcor in disguise.
You're Falcor.
I am your luck dragon.
Oh, great!
Oh, great.
Okay.
With the big old white snout and the
That's
floppy
right.
ears. So
That's
right. Right. I was going to say something, but I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm going to keep it to myself. We're going to
Don't
leave
make
this.
me
We're going to.
drop
I
you
have
into
to.
the-
Right. I
Don't
do.
make
I
me
do.
drop you in the swamps of sorrow.
No,
whatever it's
no.
called.
I work with
You and
Hillary
the
and some
horse.
other wares here, so we're going to keep this out of your.
The most traumatic scene to any
What was the name of
child
the horse?
ever.
What was the name of the horse?
Clinical depression.
That was the name of the horse? Atreyu was the kid, right? What was
Artax.
Artax. Thank you.
Artax.
Artax. Yeah, that was awful. That was.
Don't make me
sad.
act
Why
like
did you bring that up?
Don't know.
Can we
That was
take a
the
cry
worst-
break?
That was the worst scene of that film. I mean, the most emotional scene of that film.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
On a lighter note.
The illustrations in the book are great. I love
Yes,
that.
I love
Thank
the
you.
I
illustrations.
love that.
Thank
Tell
you,
us a little bit about that. So, again, we want you to go and buy this book, right? But throughout here, you've got the little illustrations of the treasure box.
Well, and I
Yes.
love how the
The
illustrations
maps.
have a purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
The maps, the
I love a story with a map, so I
the
thought
disc-
I need to have a map.
the disc
Yes.
that Mr. Watson that
Yeah,
was in
there's
his
a-
family for
there's
the
a code-breaking disc,
code-breaking disc.
and I wanted kids. I had grand plans to mass produce these
Even
and
letters,
then
like
sell
little
them,
levers,
but that
right?
wasn't going to happen.
Did you create these? How did you create these?
I drew those.
You
I
drew
drew
those.
those,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
so-
a nice. You don't get those in a lot of books, right?
I
you just don't.
Yeah.
I know.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
it does make formatting really hard.
I'm
took
sure.
So,
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
just dump a document in and format it is hard enough.
Right.
But
Yeah.
adding in those, oh my goodness,
Move,
I had
like everything.
Yeah, it just changes everything, and then it's perfect on your document, and you upload it. And you look at the preview, it's perfect, and then you order the proof copy, and it comes, and it's a disaster.
Yes.
It's like there's extra pages. There's page numbers missing.
Right.
What happened? KDP. What did you do?
Right.
Like what
right.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Just it gets lost in the ether somewhere. But so a lot of back and forth, and it is. If you find a mistake in there, don't tell me because I have scoured.
I don't
it.
think I saw anything in
Good,
there.
that
I
is
mean,
exactly what I wanted
at least
to hear.
in my reading of it.
In the first versions, there were a lot, and I was like, just
And
send
then
me
you
the
just
proof copy.
kind of
and I'll
weep
look.
openly and cry it out, and
Yeah.
then go back in there and dive
Burn a
back in
copy,
it.
order
Burn a copy,
another.
right?
Yeah.
Ah!
Yes.
Right.
I've got a novel and two novellas, and the novellas are fine, but in the novel, I have cover to cover edited that 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
and if I go back through, I can still find mistakes.
It's shocking.
It just drives me mad, and I can't go back. I can't look at it anymore.
Yeah, you have
And there
to
may
take
never be a
weeks
time that
off.
there's not a mistake, right? Like
Right.
somewhere in there's probably something lurking.
No,
Right.
there's
know?
no mistake in that.
Right.
Just kidding.
None whatsoever.
I'm just kidding.
It's
But
good, though.
yeah, it's so
I
the
did that
illustrations
on
were really fun.
purpose.
Yeah. Now tell us too. You've also crafted you're branching out a little bit into a publishing business, correct?
Yes, I
Would you like
am.
to share a little bit about that?
I would. I
Yeah.
was going to save that for the second portion.
Let's
do
do
that.
that. Let's
Because
save that
I-
for the Oopsisode.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to
the
save that
Oopsisode.
for the Oopsisode. That's perfect. That's
To be
perfect.
continued.
That's perfect. We are a little bit over an hour now. Do we want a couple more questions here to wrap up?
I don't know. Do you want to just go to the denouement?
I
Steven?
studied abroad in France too, so you're the odd man out here.
You
I'm
are
sorry.
the odd man out, so it's denouement, and you're going to land on that nail.
I studied in Germany,
You're,
so
you're off. Right,
just say.
right. You're ready.
I'm still waiting for the verb to happen. Okay.
right. Maybe tell us a little bit. We talked about this before the episode started, and I wanted to get to this too. Tell us a little bit. This is going to be a part of a trilogy, right?
Yes.
What's next?
Okay. Well, Nick has moved to. Let me back up. If you haven't read the book, then you will not know that Nick has moved to a new town called Mapleton, and he's moved to a new town called Pinehurst.
Yes.
He travels to Mapleton while his parents are working on the house to renovate it. It's really dusty. He doesn't have a bedroom. There's drywalls everywhere. They're like, we got to get Nick out of here. So he goes to live with his uncle in Mapleton.
Right.
So the
In
first
the first
adventure,
book. Right.
first book is in
Yep.
Mapleton. The second book, he's in Pinehurst. The house is done. He's invited back into the home.
Okay.
And he
You gotta pick
is...
this up. When it's
He's
So
in
it's
a
not
new-
Oliver Twist. He does.
He does.
He
Yeah.
does have a family.
does
He doesn't have
not-
family. That's right.
Please,
That's
sir,
right.
may I have another?
That's right.
He is in his new town, and he's trying to establish himself there at his new school. And of course, he discovers a mystery right out of a clue right out of the gate.
Right.
And I really can't tell more because there's a
Yes.
huge spoiler, like in chapter 2.
Yes.
And it's not done yet, so hopefully he solves the mystery. But
Right. We'll
I
see.
haven't figured out how that happens yet. But it is close to being wrapped up, so I'm really excited to get
And
that
then the
out.
third book will come. Then
Third book, I have no idea
that
yet.
hasn't hit yet.
Right, but I'm thinking it'll be. This is it's 3 months later. So this Mapleton happens in the summer, Pinehurst happens. It's in the fall, and I'm thinking the third one will happen a few months after that, or it could be a year later. I haven't decided yet, but it'll be a similar mystery with probably the same characters.
Right.
So I kind of love that too. I love that transition over the seasons. We read. What did we read? Ray Bradbury. What did we read? With the circus. Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh. Super fall book, fall winter, right?
Right, very much
like
so.
fall winter, all the way through.
Yeah.
But I do love the books that we've had a couple of them that and I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I love the transition that you just described.
Yeah.
The seasonal transition. There's something there that draws the story out for me as a reader.
Yeah.
The Night Circus.
The Night Circus by which one? By Ronald.
No.
no.
You're thinking of the Night Parade.
I'm thinking Night Parade. Night Parade by Ronald Malfi. If you have not read that,
I
you need
haven't
to
read
pick that
that.
one up too. The Night Circus by Morgenstern.
Yes. Aaron Morganson.
Aaron Morgenstern.
Yeah.
It is a lyrically beautiful book,
Yeah.
but it takes place, right, in winter?
No, it goes through all the seasons.
All the seasons. Yeah, it does.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
but with each season the tone of the book changes
Yeah.
a little.
interesting.
Erin Morgenstern she's a very lyrical writer,
Yep.
and she pays attention to everything. So it's not just the characters, it's not just the plot, it's the setting as well, it's the scenery, it's the time.
Yep.
Um,
People. Yeah.
And
Yep.
the interplay between the people, it feels like she gives everything equal attention and equal weight.
I love that.
It's
That's unique.
yeah, it's almost like poetry. It's one of my favorite books of all time.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one of our episodes, probably in season 2, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Season 2, season 3.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think season 2.
Yeah, maybe.
It might have
maybe.
even been season 1 when we were talking about bourbon being bourbony. I don't know.
Bourbon is bourbony,
Yep.
right? So I guess we're going to bring this to a close, the full episode here,
Well, so
and then we'll move into the oopsisode.
yeah, the last thing that I think I'd want to say is the ending of your book. What's that called again? The ending of the book, Stephen?
You figure it out. You've got two people who speak French here, so I'll let you deal with that one.
Why don't you just go ahead and
C'est le
speak it,
dénouement,
then?
mon ami. C'est le dénouement. C'est le dénouement dont tu parles.
Okay.
You got the laugh down really well.
Thank
They
you.
do.
Yeah,
They do.
I mean, you've nailed
Sort of.
that part.
Yeah, right. Loud, obnoxious,
Mostly.
and derisive.
Judgmental.
You
Judgmental.
you do have the wait, don't tell me voice. Though.
That's
Thank you.
right. That's
I
right.
mean, right.
That's right.
Bill Curtis.
Right?
And you're listening to Wait, Don't Tell Me with your host, Peter Sakel.
So good.
It's good stuff.
I loved the ending because it again, it reminded me very much of my childhood and these
Yep.
books that I used to read, and that idea that now as an adult I can appreciate more, the idea that in the course of a single summer you kind of have the beginning and the end of an epoch. You know it is that summer adventure. And everything that happened during that period of time is kind of separate from the rest of the world. It's not just a vacation. It's a departure
Yep.
from a child's normal reality into something that is in some ways very much magical.
Right.
And then it's the coming to grips with the idea that it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
And now they're going to go back to their own reality or their own world.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is like summer vacation.
Yep.
You know?
Yes.
Yep.
You have this magical time and then back to reality.
That's
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you've got the memory to hold on to, but it is a full and complete arc.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's beautiful and wonderful, but also a little bittersweet. And
Yeah.
I think that you captured all of that. I thought it was
That's
great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
brilliant. So at this point in the episode, we come to the final thoughts.
Yes.
And what we've been doing recently.
I think I just gave mine.
You did give yours.
Yeah.
So you don't need to restate it.
Yeah.
It's enough.
I could be.
Right, it's enough for me.
Maybe I could take yours again.
No, I don't.
There's like 3 episodes
Which-
in a row where I like said what he wanted to say.
Dang it.
Yeah. No, yeah. So the final thoughts, we get to a point in the episode where we call for the final thoughts. And what we've done the past few times is, especially with some of the distillers that we've interviewed recently this year, is talking about what are some of the feelings or the emotions that have come out from the experience. And with them, we were talking about the bourbon. Remember, we were talking about particular memories that the taste of the bourbon was evoking in us.
Yeah.
So the closing question that I have, right, is, when a reader finishes The Mystery in Mapleton and closes that book, what do you hope they're still thinking about an hour later? So that's our final
a great
thought.
question.
Yeah. And then, so what are your final thoughts about that?
Yeah. I truly wish that I had gotten this question earlier. No, just kidding.
Right. Well, we were trying to teach him to say denouement.
Right,
So
right.
We just
You know.
ran out of time for the preparation. I want my readers to walk away from reading the book with a sense that they can have their own adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That this is not, Nick's an ordinary kid. He's nothing superstar, super special. He's not this, star of anything in his life. He's just a normal kid.
Right.
He's introverted. He's thoughtful. And I want kids to know that this is going to sound like a, after school special.
Right.
The more you
The
know.
more you know.
The more you know. I do want kids to feel like they can be the star of their own story.
Yeah. They're driving it.
I mean, truly. And you don't have to be doing phenomenal things. I think, so I have a high school student who is working on, looking at colleges, college applications on the mind. And, thinking about what are the things in your life that set you apart. it's a daunting thought. Like, I don't know if I'm special or not. And we all are special.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
when you read other stories, like the other stories I was talking about, my daughter not reading because they were too advanced.
Yeah.
There's crazy things happening. And so what I really want readers to walk away from is to know that, you can have a normal story and it can be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Would you like to add anything to your final thoughts? Because you gave a good one.
I think I'm done. I
You're
mean,
done.
all I'll say is that I agree 100% with you, and I think that you did that in your book.
thank you.
My final thought, and I'm going to tell you what I feel when I close the book.
Oh, gosh.
An hour later.
I'm
You want me to get the Kleenex?
I'm excited to hear
no.
this.
But I
Gonna
think,
be
but
tears.
no, I don't think so. But what I get in, so do you know how you feel at the end of the day when you've been running around for an adventure all day long, and you have like a bubble, you have like a I don't know how to describe it. You've done so much, you've expended so much energy. You're home now.
Yeah.
It's that evening light, right? Maybe that we've shared this before. Do you remember the word? Here's another French word from you. I'll share it with her in a minute.
Yeah.
But it's that evening moment. But more for me, more in this one is there's kind of that
You're talking about the from Koval.
yes,
talking about that word?
yes, that
Yes.
word, which I'll share in a minute, which is a really
Yes.
powerful word. But for me, it's the getting home. So when I close this book and when I realize what Joe and Eddie and Nick and Watkins and Jack and Uncle John and the ice cream lady and all this stuff, at the end of the day, you come home. You have this bubble of pure like fatigue, joy, an itch to go back and do some more.
Yeah.
And then you lay down and you just let it go.
So it's
into
a
the
Sergio
sleep.
Mendes song.
It's a
Or heartburn.
or heartburn.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know exactly.
But you know what
you're
I'm saying?
talking about.
Like there's a satisfaction
Yes,
of
that's the word I was thinking.
there's
of
a
is-
satisfaction of ending the day with the adventure
Feeling. I
and
think
going.
I'm feeling some.
I'm getting a new
Are you
co-host.
getting a
satisfaction.
bubble?
I'm gonna. You at
Joie de
Chipotle.
vivre.
You at
It's a-
Chipotle.
I'm feeling
It's-
some
It's
satisfaction
gas.
right now.
It's gas. It's gas. It's gas. Yeah, it's gas. It's gas. Get off my shoulder. It's gas. It's gas. That's what it is. But you know what I mean?
I do. Like a joie de vivre.
The
Just-
joie de vivre,
Ooh, look at that.
right?
Just had to throw that in there for
But there's
you.
something
Nicely
that there's
done.
that
You get a point.
There's that just be quiet for a minute. There's that quintessential exhaustion.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
You get
And-
a point for
And
quintessential.
don't you think, and as a kid who grew up
I'm
in
the
the country, outside,
job description.
a full day, a full fun day brought
Right.
that to me every single
Every time
day.
you
Yeah.
come back in and you are just
You
like
had a full day.
there's something in there that's just like boom,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
That's what I get from your book.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. And I
That
don't
is
know,
what I'm from your
as
book.
adults, how can we get that?
I don't know.
You know,
I feel,
that's,
but that's
I want that back.
I want that back. And we don't have right now. We have the exhaustion of like running around,
Well,
being
you
pulled in
started out
multiple
at the
directions.
end of the day when you're
Right.
exhausted, like every
Right.
day.
But,
I know.
But so you know, Hillary,
When you're and your bones hurt.
and your bones hurt,
And there's no
and you're
hope left.
Your eyes
52
are
years
dry,
old.
Your head hurts.
I'm gonna take an
elbow
Advil. I'm taking
Right.
an Advil.
And your beard is mostly gray now, and everything hurts.
Do you remember the word? Do you remember the word?
I don't remember.
It's the word for sunset in French,
Hmm.
and there's pieces of that in here. I used it to describe a particular bourbon that we tasted. The word is le crépuscule, and it's one of my favorite words in the French language.
Beautiful.
But it describes that moment of orange,
Right when it-
yellow-ish. It's not the green flash that people claim to see sometimes at the sunset. It's right before that and right after that. It's that. It's that
Like the
orange,
afterglow.
purple
Yeah.
haze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that moment that you can't always capture.
Right.
Right.
That's
there.
what my youngest calls the painting.
The painting.
The painting.
The painting.
I
It's
love it.
different from the sunrise, right? The sunrise is the dawn, right?
Yeah.
The beginning of the day,
Yeah.
right? There's a different pink. There's a different orange at the sunrise.
Yeah.
This one
There's
is
a
that.
tranquility to the
Yeah.
sunset that the dawn doesn't have that tranquil. You don't have a tranquil dawn. You have a tranquil
I love
sunset.
feeling stuff like that in
Right.
the stories.
Okay.
And
I'll
and
try
I
to
love,
capture that
I
for
love
my next
feeling
book.
that. But that's an honest we
It's
both
the magic hour.
right.
Yeah.
We
It's
both
It's right
shared,
before the Viking funeral happens.
That's right, Valhalla. Right. That's right. I think we need to wrap this up. Just like the author says, we're going to wrap this up.
That's right. We got to land the
right.
plane.
We're That's right. We gotta land
The
the plane.
denouement now has to end at the la fin. Right?
You know,
That's where we're gonna-
every crash that you walk away from is a good ending.
Tell us where we can find your books.
Yes, great question. I'm on Amazon.
Yep.
I am at This Old Book. I am also at About Time in Libertyville.
Good. And you have hmlawsonbooks.com,
Yes.
where you have the books available. You have a blog available on there, a great developed website, all that kind of stuff. Any social media that you're
I'm on
on-ish?
social. I'm not active, so
Right.
don't look for me too closely.
All right.
But yeah, my website's the best way to contact me.
Okay, excellent. If you are in Grays Lake, you need to stop at This Old Book. Libertyville has the About Time bookstore, which is a great new bookstore in Libertyville,
Yep.
Illinois. Check those out, okay? Thank you once again for joining us this evening, Hillary. We appreciate you being here in our garage studio.
It's been a
On
pleasure.
Beards, Books, and Bourbon. Make sure you check us out on our social media. We
Yep.
are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on X. We're on TikTok. We're all over the place.
We're pretty much on all your major platforms.
That's right.
And
Make
some
sure-
not so major platforms.
Make sure you check us out. Download this podcast. This podcast is going to be coming out by the time you listen to this, end of February 2026. Make sure you download the podcast wherever you download your podcast and you consume your content. Leave us some stars. Leave us some comments. We want to continue to grow the podcast.
Indeed.
And we are thrilled that Hillary joined us this evening. Thank you once again.
I'm honored to be here.
And remember, it doesn't make any difference if you are with Uncle John or with Nick or Eddie or
Dr.
Joe.
Evil.
Maybe having ice cream at the store. Maybe out on the lake in the canoe.
Lovely ice cream.
If you're not listening to Beards, Books, and Bourbon,
You're doing it wrong.
good night, everybody.
Good night.